This show is part of OnePlace, a daily network of focused briefings across the stories people follow most.
Welcome to the program. We have a packed episode today covering everything from artificial intelligence in the doctor's office to groundbreaking discoveries about how our brains and bodies actually function.
ChatGPT helps a woman diagnose a rare condition.
Scientists discover a hidden waste drain inside the brain.
Gut bacteria may trigger ALS and frontotemporal dementia.
Psychedelic retreats show promise for treating childhood trauma.
U.S. birth rates hit a 20-year record low.
Neuroscientists suggest humans have up to 33 senses.
Astronaut fitness tools offer lessons for everyone on Earth.
CAR T-cell therapy provides a breakthrough for lupus patients.
First, an AI medical mystery.
Phoebe Tessorier's story is a remarkable example of how patients are using technology when they feel the traditional medical system has failed them. For years, Phoebe suffered from debilitating symptoms, including seizures and mobility issues, but she was repeatedly told by doctors that her problems were psychological. She was diagnosed with anxiety, depression, and even epilepsy, but the treatments weren't working. After a terrifying 3-day coma following a major seizure, Phoebe decided to take matters into her own hands. She fed her entire history of symptoms into ChatGPT, and the AI suggested a rare condition called hereditary spastic paraplegia. When she took this specific possibility to her GP, genetic testing finally confirmed that the chatbot was right all along.
It is a powerful testament to the potential of AI, but it also highlights the frustrations many patients face when they feel unheard. Phoebe mentioned that she felt incredibly lonely during her years of misdiagnosis, even being warned that she would be treated as a mental health patient if she kept returning to the emergency room. While her success with ChatGPT is inspiring, medical professionals like Dr. Rebecca Tomlinson warned that AI should be a starting point for discussion, not a final diagnosis. A study from the University of Oxford recently pointed out that AI can provide a mix of accurate and misleading health advice. For Phoebe, however, the technology provided the breakthrough she needed to finally get the correct care for her rare genetic condition.
Next, a brain discovery.
Researchers at the Medical University of South Carolina have just identified what they are calling a hidden trash system inside the human brain. Using advanced MRI technology originally developed for NASA to study astronauts, the team observed fluid moving along the middle meningeal artery. What makes this discovery so significant is that the fluid didn't behave like blood. Instead of the fast, rhythmic pulsing we associate with the circulatory system, this fluid moved in a slow, steady, lymphatic-like pattern. This confirms the existence of a previously unknown drainage hub that helps clear out waste and toxins from the brain. For decades, scientists believed the brain was somewhat isolated from the body's lymphatic system, but this finding completely changes that understanding.
This discovery could be a total game changer for how we treat neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's. If this drainage system isn't working correctly, toxic proteins can build up in the brain, leading to the damage we see in dementia and other age-related conditions. By identifying the middle meningeal artery as a key control point for waste removal, scientists now have a specific target for new therapies. They can look for ways to improve this drainage or fix it when it breaks down. It also opens up new questions about how brain injuries, or even the aging process, might affect this trash system. It is a perfect example of how pushing the limits of imaging technology can reveal fundamental secrets about our own biology that we're hiding in plain sight.
Now, the gut-brain link.
We are learning more every day about how our digestive system influences our brain, and a new study from Case Western Reserve University has found a specific trigger for ALS and frontotemporal dementia. Researchers discovered that certain harmful bacteria in the gut produce a specific type of sugar, a form of glycogen, that can leak into the system and spark an aggressive immune response. This immune reaction eventually leads to the death of brain cells. What is particularly interesting is that this explains a long-standing mystery: why some people with a genetic predisposition for these diseases actually get sick while others do not. It seems the state of your gut microbiome might be the deciding factor that flips the switch on these devastating neurological conditions.
The study looked at patients with ALS and FTD and found that 70% of them had elevated levels of this specific bacterial sugar, compared to only about a third of healthy individuals. This provides a very clear target for future treatments. In laboratory experiments, the researchers were actually able to improve brain health by reducing the levels of these harmful sugars. This suggests that we might eventually be able to treat or even prevent these brain diseases through dietary changes, specialized probiotics, or medications that target gut bacteria. It shifts the focus away from just looking at the brain and toward a more holistic view of how the entire body interacts. For families dealing with the reality of ALS, this research offers a very tangible sense of hope.
Next, healing through psychedelics.
A new study published in the journal Psychedelic Medicine is showing that ceremonial psychedelic retreats might be especially effective for people with severe childhood trauma. These individuals often struggle with traditional talk therapy or standard medications because their trauma is so deeply rooted. The study found that participants who had experienced the most adverse events in their youth, such as abuse or household dysfunction, actually saw the greatest improvements in their mental health after these guided experiences. They reported significant reductions in anxiety and a major boost in their overall sense of well-being. It seems the psychedelic experience helps break down a defense mechanism called experiential avoidance, where people try to suppress or escape from painful memories, allowing them to finally process their past in a safe environment.
This is a significant finding, because treating the psychological fallout of early life trauma is notoriously difficult. Many people with high levels of childhood trauma find it hard to engage deeply in therapy or feel that common psychiatric drugs just numb the symptoms without fixing the underlying issues. The use of substances like psilocybin, when done in a controlled and ceremonial setting, appears to offer a different pathway for healing. By interacting with serotonin receptors in the brain, these substances can facilitate a profound shift in perspective. While more research is needed to fully understand the long-term effects, this observational study suggests that for those with the deepest psychological wounds, these alternative interventions could provide a breakthrough where traditional methods have failed to make a lasting impact.
Now, shifting to demographics.
The United States is seeing a dramatic shift in its population dynamics, with new CDC data showing that 710,000 fewer babies were born last year compared to the peak in 2007. This represents a 23% decline in the general fertility rate over the last 2 decades. Even though the total population of the country has grown, the actual number of newborns is falling steadily. Experts are debating the causes, pointing to everything from economic pressures and the high cost of childcare to better access to education and contraception for women. It is a complex cultural and economic shift that doesn't have one single answer, but the trend is clear and consistent across almost every demographic group in the country.
The long-term implications of this decline are quite serious for the nation's future. The Congressional Budget Office has projected that the U.S. population will age more rapidly and grow much slower than previously expected, leading to a potential labor shortage. By 2055, there could be 8 million fewer residents than once predicted. This isn't just a domestic issue either. Fertility rates are plunging below replacement levels across Europe, East Asia, and South America. In the U.S., the situation is further complicated by a decrease in immigration, which historically helped balance out lower birth rates. As the population of people aged 24 and younger is projected to decline every year for the next 3 decades, the country will have to rethink how it supports an aging society with a smaller workforce.
Next, our many senses.
Most of us grew up learning that humans have 5 senses, but modern neuroscientists are now arguing that the number is actually closer to 33. While Aristotle's classic 5 are the most obvious, we are constantly using a wide array of other sensory systems to navigate the world. For instance, there is proprioception, which is the sense that allows you to know exactly where your limbs are even if your eyes are closed. Then there is the vestibular system in your inner ear that manages your balance. We also have interoception, which is how we sense internal changes like a racing heart or the feeling of hunger. These are all distinct ways our brain receives and processes information about our bodies and the environment around us.
What is even more fascinating is how these senses work together to create a unified experience. Our perception is almost always multisensory. For example, the way a shampoo smells can actually change how you perceive the texture of your hair. A rose scent can make hair feel silkier to the touch. Even the way we taste food is a combination of gustation, smell, and touch. If a liquid is thicker, it changes how we perceive its aroma. We even have a sense of agency, the feeling that we are the ones moving our own bodies, which can actually be lost in stroke patients. By recognizing these dozens of different senses, we can better understand how we interact with the world and how to improve our daily sensory experiences.
Now, fitness in space.
The astronauts on the Artemis II mission are facing a unique physical challenge: how to stay fit in a tiny spacecraft without the benefit of gravity. Without the constant pull of the Earth, human muscles and bones can atrophy incredibly quickly. To fight this, the crew is using a compact device called a flywheel. It is about the size of a large shoebox but can provide up to 400 pounds of resistance. Astronauts use it for everything from cardiovascular rowing to heavy weightlifting moves like squats and deadlifts. It works like a high-tech yo-yo where the machine gives back exactly as much resistance as the astronaut puts into it. This efficiency is vital because the Orion capsule only has about as much room as a small bedroom.
The development of this technology involved some very dedicated volunteers known as pillow knots. These were people who agreed to stay in bed for 70 days straight to help researchers study the effects of muscle loss. Interestingly, over 10,000 people applied for just 30 spots in the study. The research showed that 10 days in space is roughly equivalent to 10 days of total bed rest on Earth, which can make a person feel incredibly weak and even affect heart health. The lessons learned from these space-bound fitness tools aren't just for astronauts, though. They provide valuable insights into how we can maintain muscle mass and bone density for people on Earth who are bedridden due to illness or injury, proving that space exploration often leads to practical medical benefits for everyone.
Finally, a lupus breakthrough.
5 years ago, a young woman deathly ill with lupus became the first person to receive a revolutionary treatment using CAR T cells. At the time, the idea was considered highly risky. Many experts feared that introducing these specialized T cells would actually make the autoimmune disease worse. Even the patient's parents were hesitant, telling the lead scientist, George Schett, that the plan was crazy. However, the results were nothing short of a scientific fairy tale. The patient went into complete remission and has remained healthy for 5 years. She now actually works in the very clinic where she received the treatment. This single case has completely upended the field of autoimmune research, proving that a therapy originally designed for cancer could potentially cure some of the most difficult autoimmune conditions.
The success of this CAR T therapy has sparked a massive wave of investment and new clinical trials. Researchers are now looking at whether this same approach can be used for other diseases where the immune system attacks the body. It represents a fundamental shift in how we think about treating lupus, moving from just managing symptoms with immunosuppressants to actually resetting the immune system. While it started with one desperate patient and a doctor willing to take a chance, it has now offered new hope to millions of people worldwide. The fact that the original patient is still in remission half a decade later suggests that this could be a long-term solution rather than just a temporary fix. It is a reminder of how quickly medical science can advance when bold ideas meet clinical reality.
That is our show for today. Thank you for joining us for this daily briefing. Be sure to follow us for your next update on the stories that matter most.